This is a HeadGum podcast.
You got mail.
Hi, I'm Millie Tamara.
And I'm Elise Morales.
And this is
Go Touch Grass,
the podcast where we log in.
So you can log off.
Elise and I are two chronically online comedians, and on this pod we break down the week in internet discourse, viral memes, TikTok trends, and niche influencer drama so that you can literally do anything else with your time.
Anything else. It's all your
the
time
is
back.
yours, yes.
And if you like what you hear today and you want to hear more, we've got a Go Touch Grass Patreon already up and running with all of our test episodes, mini trending topics, a weekly newsletter, and our spin-off series, Search History, where we go back and break down a viral discourse from the past. The most recent one is on the Tarte influencer trip that was voted on by the $10
Tarte
patrons.
influencer trips.
Because
apparently a lot of drama happened in all their influencer trips.
Yeah.
And we got down to it.
And we got into it.
We got into it.
It's all on the Patreon right now.
It's all in the Patreon. And don't forget to leave us a 5-star rating and review. We love reviews.
We love them.
We need more of them. We're insatiable.
Can't get enough.
Can't get enough. We got a I'm never going to forget that 1.5 star review that we got that we feel like was
someone
previous
who's a grasshole. Yes. They did list their name as Jimny Longfellow. I don't think that's a real name.
That's not a real name.
I'm going to come out hard and say Jimny Longfellow is a nom de plume.
And yeah, I know. And also their criticism was like they only view things in their point of view.
I'm like, that's why we started a podcast,
guys.
That's the whole point of getting on mic, babe.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say somebody else's point of view.
Listen, I was like, you know what? And then it's like everything goes down to race, and it's like, okay, actually, what would a podcast be like if two Latino women were hosting it and was like, actually, let's think about the racist point of view for this. Like, what does this racist white man think of this?
Anyway,
we must be objective.
I can't wait to hear Jimny Longfellow's podcast.
Yeah, Jimny Longfellow, listen, this is Go Touch Grass. This is not the Daily sponsored by ExxonMobil, okay?
Yeah, this isn't the Jimny Longfellow hour.
This isn't the Jimny Longfellow. This is Go Touch fucking Grass.
And listen, we have a really exciting guest today, guys. We have been teasing this guest for weeks. We are super excited to have the charismatic host, innovative producer, skilled photographer, and journalist who focuses on threading together elements of culture, politics, and music. But most importantly, Millie wrote this. Is he a super fan of you, or are you a super fan of him?
He's a super fan of me.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
That's what I thought, but I was like, I'm not.
Tomatoes.
Most importantly,
Well, both ways. But he is also a super fan of me.
Most importantly, he's a Millie super fan who is also the recipient of super fandom from Millie. Mm-hmm. It's Jacques Morel.
Hey, Jacques Morel.
I feel like y'all are parents and your audience are children, and I'm Santa Claus.
Wow,
Yes.
that's so true.
Wow.
You know?
Because we did say if you guys are bad,
Yes.
he's not coming on the podcast.
There will be no beef talk in this house
Yes.
if you guys do not do your homework.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Tooth Fairy.
But guess what? Everyone was really good. Everyone
was
in
well behaved.
Grass
Everyone
Nation
was
has been so
patient.
good.
And you know what? We were teasing this so long. People are like, well, we want to hear more. We want to hear why Olivia Rodrigo and Sabrina Carpenter are beefing. And they're like, oh, that's a whole other podcast.
topic.
It did make me think, though, like, do other genres beef? I haven't Googled
Yes,
this.
they do.
They do?
I hate this discussion.
But on music, though.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, Mariah Carey, Eminem. We got
that's
Brand
still
New
hip-hop
and
adjacent,
Taking
though.
Back Sunday versus Brand New.
Okay.
And literally similar to like pedophile shit. Like they're calling each other pedophiles and stuff.
I guess I would say like pop girlies. I mean Taylor Swift. I will say probably brought.
Didn't she just dub a diss track against Kim Kardashian? Wasn't that a thing?
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I would say that Taylor Swift brings a hip hop level disability to her songs. Not necessarily like ability, but like I feel like other beefs in other genres, it's a little bit more coded, whereas Taylor Swift will be like, this song is about Kim Kardashian, and I'm capitalizing the letters in the names of the song so that you know that it's about her, and I do feel like there's a lot of similarities in how this Drake and Kendrick beef is played out and the way that people dissect like a Taylor Swift song to try to figure out who it's about and who exactly she's talking about.
Yeah.
And be like, when she references a red scarf, that's Jake Gyllenhaal.
I think so.
She left her red scarf at Maggie Gyllenhaal's house.
Okay.
And we know
So
this.
I think, before we get started on the beef talk, I'll just say that the difference, I feel like, there's in everything, in every genre, the difference with hip-hop is that they will name the name.
Yeah.
Like, Taylor Swift will capitalize names and hint, and we all know, but hip-hop will be like Kendrick, Drake, like rhyme things with Drake and Kendrick.
Yeah.
Specifically, like, rhyme their social security, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think, but anyway, let's talk about Jacques before we get into the top discourse. Because, listen, once you get Jacques started on beef, once you get, it won't stop. Once you get Elise started on Taylor Swift, it won't stop.
Yeah.
Once you get me started on Apple phones, I won't shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
Wait, no, you have an Android.
No, I do have an Android, and I will not shut the fuck up.
See, I'm a super fan. I knew that.
Huh?
Yeah.
I knew that.
Millie,
See,
super
this
fan.
is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
This is what I'm saying, guys. I'm not an inflated ego. Yes. My ego is as inflated as somebody who has a podcast is. But Jacques, I say that you're a super fan of me because you're one of the early adopters, early supporters of Millie, but also of the All Dick is Trash movement. The real ones know.
Yes.
The real ones know, which was a
shout out to the real ones.
A sketch that I did in 2016. Where I made a fake TED Talk and I said the thesis was all dick is trash.
Yes.
And it was like viral for me.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I sold a bunch of t-shirts.
I still have it.
Merch was sold.
I sold merch, and Jacques was one of the first people to buy a shirt.
Yeah.
So this is why I say he's a super fan. He's there supporting me. But this is my question.
Okay.
It was applauding and acknowledging that you were an early Millie adopter. And then also, I would classify that any man that wears an all dick is trash shirt is a feminist. And the fact that you were doing it in 2017 before the toxic men really adopted feminine aesthetics to manipulate people.
Yeah.
I would say, you're a feminist. So what my question is, how do you reconcile being a feminist and covering hip-hop music?
It's like you kind of like exist in like multiple worlds at once. Like I feel like you try to prioritize voices of women and when they're talking about it and like in the discourse itself, and like also just acknowledge that the music is inherently flawed, and it's like, like I'll be honest, it's like I love Future as a rapper, but he has like 10 kids and he's an incredible womanizer, and I haven't heard of him being abusive, but you know what I mean? Like, you kind of draw lines. Like I don't listen to some people anymore. I don't listen to Kodak Black.
Well, we'll talk about that later.
Yeah. Like I don't listen to Kodak Black, and I like Kodak Black's music, but I don't listen to his music. It's like a very active it's a very active experience, and but also passive at the same time. You're kind of just like, damn, like this is just not good.
I think that existing in multiple spaces at once, because there are so many things like inherently homophobic, inherently I mean not just hip hop, I'm just saying like even inherently like racist and all these things that exist, that like to have any kind of fandom or like you kind of have to mute that a little bit just to fucking enjoy. And I will say, right, I feel like I'm a pretty strong feminist, and I was fucking shocked. I know I clown a lot. I clown Elise a lot because Meghan Trainor showed up in her Spotify rap last year.
Yeah,
it's
true. And someone did comment on the Patreon and say that they too were afflicted with Meghan Trainor in their Spotify rap. So it's happening. It's happening. I'm bringing a voice to
all
something.
about that bass. All about that bass.
No, it was the.
It was the other one that was
I
designed.
Made You Look song.
Yeah, the one that's like, I'm gonna have my Gucci. She got me with that one.
She got Elise, but this is where I'm gonna be vulnerable, Elise, because I know I've been clowning your vulnerability.
Thank you.
I consider myself a huge feminist. One year, what happened? I got a Spotify email. You're in the top 5 percentile of listeners to Future. And I'm like, I need
man.
to, because listen, Dirty Sprite 2.
Ooh.
That was
Beast
and the
Mode.
first.
Purple Rain.
Oh my God, that album,
Future
the first
Hendrix.
track was basically post Ciara breakup, and he was like, "I love Lean more than I'll love any woman."
Yeah.
and I was and it was like, inject that to my veins.
I'm gonna choose the dirty over you. Yeah.
Exactly.
That's what he said. I'm gonna choose the dirty.
And I'm
over
like,
you.
and I'm top 5 percentile. So listen, calls coming from inside the house.
Yeah, totally.
But I'm just like, I wanted to know how you dealt with it, and that's a real. real great.
Yo, Future's a hip hop pioneer that's incredibly problematic, but like, rest in peace Rico Wade. He just died from Outkast, right?
Okay.
He was like one of the pioneers of of their first album, right? Super Cadillac. I can't believe I'm forgetting it. But
wow,
you know what I mean.
Hip hop journalist.
Please do not pull my hip hop journalist card. Super Cadillac music, and then the Dungeon Family, and Future was in those sessions.
Wow.
Like Future's cousins of Rico Wade. Like Future was in those sessions. Like, so a lot of people like kind of like saw Future as like this bastion of like rap like being torn away from like its roots, but like hip hop is Future's very, very much part of its roots. Like,
and I'll just say this: he's a pioneer in hip hop, specifically because he raps about what severe depression looks like.
If you listen to Cody and Crazy, man.
Yeah, because honestly, his beats are bangers, but all the lyrics are incredibly sad.
It's like sad and muddled and just like self-immolating and
terrible, but the songs are really fun.
Well, I mean, I just feel like with hip hop or any art form, yes, I am thinking about J.K. Rowling and Harry Potter. I'm the dork on the pod. Don't
get her started on
that. I'll be on my
beef.
soapbox. But it's like art is created by people. People are imperfect. So I feel like when you're engaging with art, it is kind of this constant conversation of like, where is the threshold for saying, okay, I actually can't listen to this artist anymore, versus like, all right, I recognize that this person has some problematic beliefs, but the art means enough to me. Like, I feel like that there is like a constant negotiation.
Yeah. I feel like I've been like kind of dancing on this thought for a while, but I feel like we're like in some ways in like not in a post-cancellation world, but like we're like in a scarlet letter world. It's like you just know all of these things that people have done, and you just gotta like make the conscious choice whether or not to engage with what they have done.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And
scarlet letter, that's a really great thing because they're still fucking. The priest and that woman were still fucking.
Right?
But she had that big ass A.
Mm-hmm. So it's kind of like like even like with Harry Potter, right? J.K. Rowling, right? It's like when she like unleashed her turfness all those years ago.
Truly unleashed is a great word.
Came out of nowhere. It was like
never put it
one
back
day.
away.
J.K. Rowling was this author that was homeless and made the biggest series for kids of all time, and then the next day she was a raging turf
in a castle.
So
it's in a castle.
And then there was like a brief period where it was like we can't fuck with Harry Potter anymore, which was like warranted. But then after a while, it's kind of like, yo, this was like the lifeblood of my childhood.
This is literally Elisa's 1 hour show.
Yeah, my one woman show is literally this is me being like, what do I do? But
Elisa almost got a snitch tattoo. The tattoo of a golden snitch.
But luckily, I didn't.
But that's how big of a super fan she was.
But that's the thing, right? It's like, so I don't know. I feel like, and I feel like I'm totally open to criticism for that. So if someone's going to come in my DMs and be like, or my comments be like, oh, how could you say you're feminist and you still listen to Future? I'm like, that is true. You know what I mean? Like, how could you say like you support trans people and you still enjoy Harry Potter? Like, that is true. Mm-hmm. It's kind of like you just are forced to engage with all these things, and I think it also makes you think critically about the beliefs that you have and the work that you are putting out into the world, and how people will engage with you on some of the beliefs that they may not fuck with, right? So it kind of forces you to constantly think critically, and and I feel like even shutting your brain off is a form of thinking critically, because it's like you were actively choosing to shut that part off, but it's always there speaking up to you, being like, just like, don't forget, like, Future has 10 kids. You know what I mean?
But I mean, the shit that speaks to you and is critical, and the shit that goes off in a club. The Venn diagram is small.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we're going to talk about it. Like,
we're going to talk about it.
The number one song on the planet right now is one rapper, the biggest rapper on the planet, calling another rapper, being called, because Kendrick wasn't the biggest rapper on the planet, it was Drake, being called a pedophile. You know what I mean? Like, that makes you have to shut your brain off. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Okay, one more question for you before we dive right into beef talk. So you mentioned your DMs, your comments. You are, you're on a bunch of different platforms, TikTok, Insta, Facebook.
Yeah.
As you've been covering this, have you noticed any difference between like how people respond to your content on different platforms? Do you notice like, there are more Drake fans on TikTok or Instagram, or is it all the same?
That is a great question. I feel like the comments on Instagram are more personal because more people know me like in person because like Instagram, I've been on it for like, oh my God, like 12, 10 years, 15 years at this point. Like, so more people know me in person, so it's more personal. And like, I love the people that follow me on TikTok. Everybody that follows me is a real one no matter what. But like, it's more like, oh, Jacques, like, you know, so there's more grace that's extended to me. And there's more
they
like,
see you as a person.
Yeah.
Not like a content machine.
Exactly. And on TikTok, it's more people that know me from the work I did at Genius.
Oh, okay.
And which is also on Instagram as well. But like more people that know me from the work I did on Genius. And because like TikTok, it's like you just get thrown into like a soup of just content. Like it's a lot of like people just like watching half of the video and just firing off a take, or people just saying like you're biased and they don't watch the whole thing, or people reiterating something that you say like at 90 seconds into the video, but they just only watch 20 seconds of it.
So a lot more dummies on TikTok.
I would say no, but honestly, yeah, because like TikTok is like, it's like TikTok is like very just low vibrational in some ways.
Yeah.
Wow.
You know, and
wow, deep, and that's why America's trying to ban it.
I mean, America, but the thing is, like, the crazy part about that is, like, America should just be putting, you know, like stricter restrictions on every single platform.
That's what we talked about on
data,
this podcast.
you know?
But it would be funny if Joe Biden was like, the reason we're banning TikTok is because it's low vibrational.
And
yeah, totally, right?
Know what
It's like,
low
whoa,
vibration.
Joey's so woke.
Let's put a pin in low vibrational, because that's a whole internet term that's used on Black Twitter. There's low vibrational food.
Yeah.
It's a whole thing.
It's like very low vibrate, and a lot of the takes that people have too, because it's just like, because a lot of it is
ignorant.
It's because a lot of people are just like, it's very performative to like incense to like to go viral, because like TikTok is like, and we will get off this, I promise, but TikTok is like the first time that the going viral was turned into like a lottery sweepstakes, where any one person could go viral, whereas before 5-6 years ago you had to actively work to build up an audience, to build up a subscriber base, and therefore that subscriber base would be fed your stuff because they subscribe to see you. Whereas on TikTok it's like, and this has been happening to me with the Kendrick stuff, if I don't talk about like this beef, no one's seeing my shit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They only care about like the algorithm only cares about what I serve, because people are searching for that stuff.
Yeah.
So people are seeing me through that. So I'll do videos on like, I love F1, and people like 1 or 10 people will see it, and one person will be like, I had no idea you love F1, but I have dozens of videos on F1, but they don't see that.
The racing.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's just like, you know.
I have to explain it.
Oh no, totally. So yeah, that's the thing. Like these algorithms, like that's why I say TikTok is very low vibrational, because it's like, it's very like, what is in vogue at the moment? What are people piling on at the moment? And everybody else just kind of making TikToks that are like a little bit left or right of that thing to go viral into that stream of content.
Yeah. It's also like a very passive platform, and that you're just like sitting back and being served stuff, and you're like, you're seeing faces where you're like, I don't know how this person got to me, or like, again, they don't know your body of work, or what you said already on this topic, it's hard to even see sometimes like when the video you're watching was posted.
My God.
Oh yeah, because sometimes it's like, I'll get this thing and I'm like, this is old, and then I look and it's like from fucking March.
Yeah. You gotta check
like
the comments to see when it was posted.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that happened to me with this sick goldfish that I was being served a lot of videos about this sick goldfish, and I was like, damn, I hope this goldfish is okay. And then I finally went to the page and I realized that these videos were 2 months old and the goldfish was dead.
The goldfish was dead, yeah.
And I was like, damn, I really invested a lot of time in this sick
goldfish.
Yeah.
Goldfish.
I feel like TikTok has like contributed to the general devaluing of creative content, and I love TikTok. I love the app, but I think it's like contributed to the general devaluing of creative content and how it's flattened everything. And because like you just like kind of enjoying like a soup of content, like you don't watch individual creators, you just watch TikTok.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Wow. And later we will report that Jacques has a Chinese spy balloon outside of his apartment.
Yes.
Okay. So as promised, let's get into the discourse. As promised, we are going to cover the Drake versus Kendrick beef.
Ooh.
Now, Elise and I aligned that we didn't want to get into a line-by-line breakdown of every song, because that would be so long.
Exhausting.
So we wanted to talk about generally how the internet and social media weighed into the conversation and give some overview. So we want to give like a key point timeline thing so people can know what we're talking about. So I split the timeline into 3 phases. And we're gonna give broad reflections on each phase, and then we'll move on to a more nuanced conversation about the social media's reaction to this and who do you feel both of you have won this.
Okay, cool.
Okay, so phase 1 encompasses from 2011 to April 2024.
Yeah.
Big long phase.
Yeah.
So so in 2011, Kendrick features on Drake's Take Care album, Buried Alive interview, and initial tension was hinted in those lyrics. Then in 2013, Kendrick ignites the feud with his Control verse, directly calling out Drake among other people.
Also, I want to jump in. 2011, Drake also took Kendrick Lamar on tour with him in Club Paradise.
Okay, so there was an alliance there.
Yeah.
Wow,
As like he's a little brother type vibe. Yeah.
Wow. See, this is why we have the hip hop journalist. 2013 BET Awards, Kendrick disses Drake during a cypher, adding fuel to the fire. On October 6, 2023, Drake releases First Person Shooter on his For All the Dogs album, praising him and his peer status, which Kendrick does not appreciate, particularly saying that Drake, J. Cole, and Kendrick are hip-hop's big three.
Can I jump in? Is this fine?
Well, yes, you can jump in.
You can jump in.
Oh, well, really quickly. It was like dubbed as the big three. It was like an internet thing.
Yes.
As like the
and
three
then Drake
of them.
acknowledged it.
And Drake acknowledged it.
So it wasn't like he made it up.
Yeah, and like
that's important context.
It was, and like on the Control verse, like Kendrick, it's all been like subliminals. Like, the reason why I jumped in, I don't mean to like mansplain.
No.
I'm
Wow,
so sorry.
you're getting your feminist card taken away.
Yeah.
Your hip hop journalist card is out, but your feminist card is getting taken away for interrupting.
It's just important for like the context because
this is good context
because it lives underneath the surface. So it's like
so there's like digs.
Exactly. They're like like they were just throwing shade in like a subtle way. So Kendrick would like you'd be listening to lyrics like who's he talking about here, and he could be talking about Drake a lot of the times, Okay. But yeah.
That's the Taylor Swift method.
Yeah. Bingo. Yeah. I mean, Kendrick has made songs with Taylor Swift.
Yes, exactly.
Well,
that factors
in.
Hey. I know that factors in.
Yeah.
And give me 50. Okay. That's phase 2. Shut up, Billy. Okay. So in March, so the First Person Shooter comes out October 2023. March 22nd, 2024, this year, Kendrick responds sharply in Like That from Future and Metro Booming's We Don't Trust You, distancing himself from the big three of rap, which includes Drake, leading to escalated tensions. The lyric, some paraphrases, there's no big three, it's just big me,
Bum.
Bum.
Yeah.
Then April 5th, 2024, J. Cole, releases 7-minute drill on his Might Delete Later album, which criticizes Kendrick's discography, but later retracts the diss and apologizes at the Dreamville Festival, reflecting on his statement and saying he doesn't want any problems, and he apologizes and respects Kendrick. So now I'm going to ask you guys.
And seeing the writing on the wall in a way.
Seeing the writing on the wall.
I'm about to get.
Yes,
very much so.
So I'm going to ask you guys, just for phase 1, any moments stick out to you? And, so any moments stick out to you? Any key things that, I didn't cover, which you already talked about? And then also, at the time, J. Cole, the internet clowned J. Cole, and we got into this in our Patreon episode about how the internet clowned J. Cole for backing down, especially backing down so quickly from the Kendrick beef, especially since he doubled down and tripled down his comments towards female rapper No Name a few years before, who called both him and Kendrick out for not making public Black Lives Matter statements. So again, what we talked about on the Patreon is comparing how quickly J. Cole recoiled versus how he tripled down on No Name and made fun of her for reading too much. So now, I'm gonna ask thoughts and prayers and actions and comments about phase 1 to both Elisa and Jacques.
Well, phase 1 I learned about from you in our Patreon episode.
We didn't even get into the 2011 stuff.
I know, but so honestly, just the biggest, funniest top line thing to me is the J. Cole getting involved and then going, you know what, actually, this is gonna get really fucked up, and I'm gonna say sorry in public and get the hell out of here.
Which,
Well, I mean, the funny thing is, it's Cole was completely destroyed for that. Like,
yeah, he was
left, right, and center. Like, everybody completely tore him down for that. And I remember I made a video at the time. I was like, why would he apologize? But I also was like, you know what? Like, maybe he. And I have this in the video. I remember I've been so happy about my coverage of this, and I have this in the video. I'm like, maybe he had a conversation with both of them, and he was like, maybe I don't want anything to do with this.
Well, and again, exactly. That's one of those things where, like, in the moment he was getting clowned, but the fact that there's 3 phases and we're only on phase 1 shows that he made a good decision.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Especially the digs, like, oof.
Yeah.
But also, he's still a bitch for everything with No Name. And, like, he's just not a diss rapper. And that's okay. But, like, don't get into the ring. It's just lame to get into the ring and then recoil. And then also not to recoil for a woman who actually had good points, you know?
It's like a typical, machismo hip-hop thing. And, like, J. Cole and a lot of these rappers, honestly, are very much like dudes that are successful, but that got successful without, like, reading books.
Yeah, of course.
You know what I mean?
Course.
Like, without, like, reading books. So, like, when, like, No Name called Cole out for being, like, a mile wide but an inch deep, like...
A mile wide but an inch deep, exactly.
Effectively, like, or even, like, when Jay-Z, like, he did his...
That's
he did, like,
another mile wide, inch deep.
Inch deep. He did, like, an interview... Not an interview. He did, like, a Twitter Spaces thing, and he said, capitalist is a slur they call black people. They get, like, too uppity, effectively.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, bro, how are you... like a billionaire, but you don't know what a capitalist means. Like,
it's like complete idiot.
It's like kind of like it's kind of like you're rich and famous, and you got rich that way because you didn't have to, like, read, and you just get to, like, paint with broad strokes. And
I'm not gonna say read is probably, like, a really broad, but what you mean is, like, even think critically, and, like, question the systems around you that are already and challenge and all this stuff.
And they do that, but, like, there's also,
but
like,
in their male, like, black male point of view,
back on point of view, right? Exactly.
Very limited.
And also too, it's like there is, like, you weren't, like, if there's, like, you have to, like, if you're going to talk about a lot of these things, you have to, like, read, and No Name does the reading.
Yeah.
Like, No Name comes from
that. She has
that.
a book club that's really good. And she, again, we talked about it, talks about, like, the thing about Jay-Z is that, one of his biggest songs, 99 Problems, it talks about, like, police brutality and systemic racism against black people. Which is great, but then, again, continues to, like, not question any other structure beyond that. Just that, like, he doesn't like getting pulled over. Where No Name has a book club where they read Angela Davis and all these things that actually engage in stuff. And she can have a more nuanced discussion, like, not only just talk about it in her raps, but also talk about it at large. And then... these guys make fun of her for it, which is ridiculous.
I mean, because, like, when you feel like you're out of your depth, that you start making fun of people. That's what the class clown was, right? The class clown was someone that was, like, out of their depth, so they started just, like, making fun and poking fun. So
that is true.
You know what I mean? So
don't
it's
look at me. I was a class clown finalist. I didn't actually win. I was nominated for class clown. The woman who won, though, is a super hot CrossFit influencer now, and it's super not fair.
Oh.
And she has 800,000 followers on Instagram.
That's insane.
But it's also a little, like, I
don't care, guys.
But it's like a similar thing. Like, you could get like 100,000 followers on, like, Instagram, and, like, you don't really have to be, like, that smart to do that. You know what I mean?
And honestly,
which is not a problem.
Honestly, sometimes I wish I didn't know as much, because it really makes the world.
It's burdensome.
It's burdensome for real.
You can't shut your brain off when you're listening to Future.
I can't even go on vacation. I'm like, how much are they paying these workers?
Oh,
I'm like, God damn it,
yeah, for sure.
Please just enjoy the beach.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
But
Man.
There's Lexapro for that. All right, guys, phase 2. Let's go to phase 2. From April 12th, 2024 to April 30th, 2024. Again, the phases went from 10 years to
hockey stick growth. As they say in the tech industry.
I don't even know. When I go on a date with a tech guy, I shut my brain off and dissociate. Okay. And he talks a lot about tech. I'm like, okay. April 12th, 2024, Future Metro Booming dropped We Still Don't Trust You, featuring tracks from A$AP Rocky and The Weeknd with veiled disses towards Drake, indicating a broadening conflict. April 13th, Drake responds with Push-Ups, dropping Gimme 50, targeting Kendrick, Future, The Weeknd, J. Cole, Rick Ross, and others in a comprehensive diss track. The track was originally leaked on the 13th, with many questioning whether that leak was AI generated, but the official release came out on April 19th. Personally, I liked Push-Ups, and we'll talk about that later. I thought it was really great.
Yeah.
April 13th, Rick Ross releases Champagne Moments to DJ Academics. Problematic. There's a lot going there with DJ Academics. We talk about DJ Academics on one of our episodes. But
our free pinned discourse episode. If you're like, who is DJ Academics? Go to the Patreon. It's up for free.
It's up for free. And guys, guess what? Rape allegations against him right now as we speak just came out last week.
Sued
we'll move on.
In Rolling Stone, yeah.
Well, and are you surprised now that you know who he is, Elise?
Not after we unpinned the discourse.
Not after we unpinned it, guys. Check out. Okay. DJ Academics featured on his stream emphasizing Ross's rapid response to Drake's leaked push-ups. In the track, Rick Ross mugs Drake for allegedly ghostwriting, references his supposed cosmetic surgery, and criticizes Drake's identity and authenticity. He suggests a deeper portrayal in the relationship by touching on both professional and personal backstories. That's the Rick Ross April 13th track. On April 19th, Drake releases Tailor Made, a diss track featuring AI-generated voices of Tupac Shakur and Snoop Dogg aimed at Kendrick. Shakur's verse criticizes Drake while encouraging Lamar, and Snoop Dogg chides Lamar for his slow response. Drake suggests Lamar's delay is to avoid classing with Taylor Swift's album release. Following a cease and desist from Tupac Shakur's estate, which condemned the use of his likeness, Drake removed song from all platforms. April 21st, Kanye joins the feud with a remix of Like That. Takes a jab at a bunch of people. It escalates the feud, but revives Kanye's personal professional animosities toward Drake. Not a lot was made about the Kanye thing. Again,
yeah, I actually did not realize that Kanye.
I didn't either, but because everything I see about Kanye and him and his butt naked wife walking around with no shoes on.
It's very exhibitionist.
Something.
I almost wanted to be like, yo, blink if you're.
It's also giving vertigo with the wife looking exactly like Kim K.
Yeah,
put a pin in. We haven't even talked about Kanye on this podcast.
I know we haven't talked about Kanye, the wife situation, any of that.
Woof. April 30th, 2024, Kendrick releases Euphoria, a brutal diss track targeting Drake. The song directly addresses Drake's early acting career, presents him as deceitful and manipulative. Kendrick criticizes Drake for exploiting cultural features for personal gain and questions the authenticity of his narratives. The track also indirectly comments on Drake's familial relationship, suggesting that he lacks genuine understanding of parental responsibilities. Kendrick's lyrics reflect a deep-seated disillusionment with Drake's public persona, contributing to a highly personal edge to their ongoing beef. So now, I'm going to ask you, any standout moments in Phase 2? And also, again, I thought Push-Ups was really good, and it was really damning, but then the Tailor Made freestyle kind of fucked that up, but...
Yeah, that's kind of how I felt as well. It's like I remember hearing the first Drake release, and I was like, "Oh, the size 7 shoe line, you got him."
I have a size 7 shoe. Yeah.
Well, you're a short king. Short King week is over, sadly.
We'll continue.
But it was one of those things where I was like, "Ooh, he got him," with no idea of like where this was gonna like that is the mildest situation for what is coming. And then I remember when Kendrick released Euphoria, that's what this one is, right? I'm like,
Euphoria
I'm like, which song is which? That was the one where I was like, oh, this is about to get really
ugly.
That's when it like started to really take over my feed, and I feel like the social media response really fired up was after Kendrick.
Yeah, so I liked Push-Ups. Push-Ups was like a fun day because the initial song had leaked, and it really, like, we were all kind of wondering if it was like AI or not.
Yeah.
And then Drake actually leaks the song to DJ Academics, and he's like, "Oh, here's like the real song." And then Academics plays it, and then we're all like kind of like diving in on it, and like it was very much like, this is another thing I said in my video. I was like, Drake is probably gonna go at everybody because everybody was kind of piling up on him, like, yo, what did he do to get everybody that mad? And so Drake essentially goes at everybody, and I thought Push Ups was a good song. I feel like there's been a lot of good music from both artists in this whole battle.
And it's danceable and fun and other stuff.
So Drop and Give Me 50. Like, it was good. And he was essentially, like, the whole ethos of Drop and Give Me 50 was the fact that, like, he was saying that Kendrick Lamar's former label head, Top Dog, was still getting 50% of Kendrick Lamar's masters. Like, his whole, like, his, and
then also there is a video where they do make Kendrick do push-ups.
No. So the video was Kendrick has a Finsta that's not that Finsta. It's like really popular. It's like 800,000 followers. So it's not really a Finsta, but like Kendrick Lamar's Instagram essentially. He has a video of him like doing like push-ups and because like he's very low key. He's not like trying to be famous. Like so Kendrick Lamar could really effectively move amongst the people, the populace in a way that like Drake can't. And like there's a video of him like doing push-ups, like working out outside like in LA, and that's part of like the Drop and Give Me 50, but also Drop and Give Me 50%.
Interesting.
And then with the Tailor Made freestyle, I remember when I was on the way to a party in Jersey when that came out, and I was in a packed Uber, and I made everybody in the Uber shut up so we could listen to it. And at the time, I was like, whoa, like this is like, is that AI? Like, it was kind of like very like Drake is very online.
Yeah.
Like, I know you two are online, but Drake is very online.
Drake is Grass Nation, even if he doesn't know.
He said he would be a great podcast guest.
Yo.
Yeah.
And can I say, like, unconfirmed rumor that I've heard from someone who used to have a flirtation with Drake? She said that Drake texts too much.
Text too much?
Like it's just one of those guys that's constantly texting.
Good morning, Queen.
Good morning, Queen. How are you? What are you eating right now? What are you doing? What are you doing? Like,
he's on his phone.
He's on his phone, which is just confirming what you said.
I would love to see what his screen time is like.
Oh my God.
And I feel like the fact that he used AI when previously in the days before that there were like 2 different AI Kendrick Lamar diss tracks that were fake that had come out that had gone viral. And, for him to use AI to kind of like dub over his voices like Tupac was like a good troll, but also, as we know how the beef came down, if it was about authenticity and people were going at his authenticity, to like speak as Tupac was like the worst thing he could have possibly done.
It was a big misstep.
Oh, huge misstep.
That made him lose points.
Yeah, I was like, I never really, like, I was like surprised by the use of AI voices and to like, kind of, well, first of all, someone who's not with us any longer to like use their voice and be like, this is what is very weird. And then also to use a AI Snoop Dogg, I feel like is weird.
But it's like an intentional like West Coast.
Yeah, it's basically like, because there's this huge concert that happened in 2012 where they metaphorically passed Kendrick Lamar the torch, where like Kendrick Lamar performed with like Snoop, and Snoop passed him the torch, like, oh, you're the one that's carrying the West Coast now.
Okay.
So that was like part of it. And also just like, Snoop and Kendrick are good friends. Like,
okay.
So it was like meant to be like, Drake was like saying like, because like at this point, like Kendrick hadn't responded. He dropped like that in March. Yeah. Drake drops Push Ups, and then, Drake, in his beef against like Meek Mill. Yeah. Like he dropped Charged Up, and then he dropped Back to Back. Like, Drake likes to like up the ante. Yeah. Because a lot of like, with like beefing and
which now hip-hop, I feel like that's kind of the strategy.
It's a strategy.
As we talk into
as we'll get into phase 3, it's a strategy, right? It's like you almost want to like step on the record of the person that you're beefing against, right? So it's about like getting the records like out as like soon and like kind of like stacking them on top of each other. And it's crazy because Drake was the one that was pushing the pace in a lot of his previous beefs, and Kendrick effectively used that like against him.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, we'll get into phase 3 now.
Phase 3.
Here we
this
go.
is when it gets really crazy, and again, like the tracks, like the days between the tracks get shorter and shorter and shorter.
Yeah.
And not even days, sometimes minutes.
Yes.
So on May 3rd, Kendrick Lamar's 616 in LA drops on Instagram, marking, which we were saying, Adam Mosseri is probably so happy that fucking happened on Instagram.
Yeah, totally.
Marking his second diss track aimed at Drake. Lamar takes aim not only at Drake, but also at his record label, OVO Sound, marking the first direct attack on them. He suggests infiltration. Basically, he's just like, I have a mole inside your record. Like, one of your people, Drake, is snitching and telling me all your shit. Additionally, Lamar references Drake's hit Tootsie Slide, implying Drake won't be able to smoothly maneuver his way out of the confrontation presented in 616 LA. He playfully mocks Drake's reliance on internet culture, adding depth to their lyrical sparring. I can't read. The track intensifies the tension between the two rappers, setting the stage for further retaliation and escalating the feud to new heights. The art for 616 is also like Drake's Ozempic, like prescription or something.
No, for 616 in LA, it was just a Maybach Love.
Oh, okay.
And then like it was just a Maybach Love, and then eventually, as you say, the prescription photo
for
comes
Drake's
in.
Ozempic, right?
Yeah, it comes in the neck, which you're about to mention after this. Yeah.
So May 3rd, Drake fires back at Kendrick with Family Matters, a scathing diss track released on multiple platforms. And it came with the music video too, which was crazy. In the song, Drake targets
the amount of content being released is unbelievable.
Guys, we're not even like halfway through. Drake targets not only Lamar but several other rappers, including Future, Rick Ross, A$AP Rocky, Kanye, The Weeknd, and Metro Boomin. The track serves as a response to Lamar's recent disses, including Champagne Moments, All to Myself, Show of Hands, Euphoria, and 616 in LA. Drake alleges Lamar's involvement in domestic violence against his partner and suggests infidelity between. Drake alleges that Kendrick Lamar beats his partner Whitney Alford, and that there was cheating between Whitney and Lamar, and with Lamar's creative partner Dave Free, even questioning the paternity of one of Lamar's children. Lamar swiftly responds with Meet the Grams within 20 minutes of the release of Family Matters, intensifying their feud. The music video for Family Matters is rich with symbolism, featuring nods to 50 Cent, Pharrell, and Michael Jackson, with references to Lamar's personal life, adding layers to the conflict. Again, right? So 20 minutes later, Kendrick Lamar swiftly counters Drake's Family Matters with Meet the Grams, dropping 20 minutes after Drake's diss track hits the airwaves. Produced by The Alchemist, it dives into the chilling realm with its haunting piano-driven beats. Lamar doesn't hold back, accusing Drake of parental neglect, sexual exploitation, and even running a sex trafficking ring from his mansion, The Embassy. In a shocking twist, Lamar alleges Drake's involvement in child abandonment and brands him as a sexual predator. The original cover art featuring items allegedly stolen from Drake's father and prescription medications with Drake's real name adds a sinister layer. So it's that's the prescription to Ozempic. And then just a few more, guys. May 4th, Kendrick delivers another major blow to Drake, which with Not Like Us, released as his third diss track in a 36-hour period. The song intensifies Lamar's accusations against Drake and OVO Sound record label, alleging Drake's involvement in pedophilia and child sexual abuse with his associates. Lamar portrays Drake as a cultural appropriator who exploits Atlanta's artists for credibility and financial gain. The cover art featuring a bird's eye view of Drake's Toronto residence with sex offender map symbols. It's really fucked up.
Yeah.
And then
Jesus Christ.
I know it's really fucked
From
up.
like the Citizen app, it's pretty crazy.
Yeah, on the Citizen app. So it's like the Citizen app view of Drake's house with like sex offender and like multiple. So showing like everybody in Drake's thing.
Wow. It's wild that like the album art, the music videos, like the layers to which they're like coming at each other is not like, it's not just the songs, it's like every single part of the release.
Yes. Okay, two more things and then we'll
Phase 3 is a big phase.
Phase 3 is the biggest phase. May 5th, Drake fires back at Kendrick with The Heart Part 6, a potent diss track released on YouTube sampling Aretha Franklin. The track features cover art showcasing an Instagram comment from Kendrick's fiance, Whitney Alford, made by Kendrick's manager, the guy who allegedly is the father of one of their kids. Drake addresses domestic violence allegations against Lamar and implicates Free in fathering an illegitimate child with Whitney. He vehemently denies previous accusations of pedophilia and claims OVO's Sound planted the story about the secret daughter to bait Lamar. which sounds like something Lady Whistledown would do.
Yeah. I mean, I'm like, what?
Yeah, I'll talk about that in a second.
It's very like, well, if I didn't talk about it, it would be suspicious.
Yeah.
That's a good British accent. We speak British very well.
Okay, and basically in that track, the Heart Part 6, Drake is like, you keep calling me a pedophile because you were molested, which is really fucked up and weird.
Oh my God.
Like,
but the thing is, like, Kendrick wasn't molested.
Yes, he kind of made a comment. Oh, God damn it.
It's funny because a lot of people were so mad about that. And I was like, but the song on Mother I Sober, Kendrick wasn't molested. And even Drake got that wrong. So it's like still fucked up. But it was also like, Kendrick wasn't molested.
It's so fucked up, yeah. The fact that we have to even say that.
Yeah.
Finally, on May 5th, Metro Booming, again, who's a producer, Metro Booming is a producer that has beef against Drake. Drake in Push Up says, why don't you go back to making drums? So, like, beats, like, get out of this beef. So, Metro Boomin released BBL Drizzy.
I was wondering when BBL Drizzy would come into this and what BBL Drizzy, like, is.
Yes, okay. BBL Drizzy is an instrumental track by American record producer Metro Boomin. The track was released on May 5th in response to the ongoing Drake versus Kendrick feud. It samples an AI-generated track by the same name by comedian King Willonis, and it is a notable example of AI sampling in mainstream hip-hop.
Yep.
Metro announced that he would offer... So basically, what he did was he had this beat, and he says, whoever makes the best diss track will get a free beat from me, Metro Booming. That's
the $10,000.
So, yeah, basically, I mean, if you're an up-and-coming rapper, of course you want a beat from Metro Boomin.
Yeah.
And also you want $10,000.
Has anyone won yet?
I don't announce no winners yet.
I don't know. I haven't seen anybody win. It's just the whole thing is just so funny to me because it's just like the thing that that really stuck out to me the most as someone that was covering this from like 10,000 feet up. Mm-hmm. It was like, and like there's someone that was covering this from 10,000 feet up, and I'm putting all of my videos on the record. So people will see if I switch up, in my opinion, right? People will actively, and I'm sure y'all will understand this too, right? It's like when you make content, when you put stuff out there that people engage with, right? I have to actually stick behind what I say.
Yeah.
So what has been interesting has been to see the sea change that has happened around Drake and Drake's music, because a lot of the people that like are like completely anti-Drake now, they're like, fuck him, whatever. It's like, oh, can I curse on this?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my God. Yeah, sorry. So a lot of people that are like, fuck Drake, I can't stand him, right? Like, we're at his concert 2 months ago.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it's like, also, it's like, you know, Drake has had a lot of like weird smoke about him and like underage women, right? That is underage girls, right?
Yeah,
like, underage girls, right? Has
See, there we go, feminist hat back on.
Yeah, you know, has had a lot of weird smoke with him and underage girls, right? But like for years, we've all known this.
Yeah.
And people have still used his lyrics as Instagram captions. People still like, so it's like kind of like now that it's like cool to like hate on Drake, and it's always been cool to clown Drake, but now that it's cool to vehemently hate him, like it's been like a pile-on. And also like because of the memes, because BBL Drizzy was so catchy, it's kind of like it's engaged everybody. I got a comment on my YouTube video that said like, oh, like now you too can like hate Drake from the comfort of your own home. Like you too can make a Drake diss track from the comfort of your own home. So it's just like interesting to see the change, and also like you know, Drake responding on the Heart Part 6 with like saying like, I'm too famous to be a pedophile. It's like, bro, like
those are not mutually exclusive. If we've seen anything in history, it's that
his whole argument is that is that if he was a pedophile, we would know by now. But as you were saying, Elise,
it's actually it's much easier for famous people to like cover up that behavior and do it with impunity. I mean, that's not a good argument. I would say.
Terrible!
I could kind of see again where he was coming from, but that's someone who doesn't read and engage with like what's going on and all that stuff. Because to him, he's like, if I was a pedophile, there would be an expose. But it's just like, you are not engaging with culture, really, you know?
Yeah.
Like, you move culture, right? Yeah. Like, you have to understand, Drake exists in a world where we can't even comment on his Instagram posts, right? Do you know, like, we don't have that feature. you don't have a feature where you could just like turn off. You can turn off all comments, but his comments are limited, right?
Yeah.
So even in his highly online world, it's very curated, right? And also like something that Van Lathan, formerly of TMZ, but now like he does his own stuff. Like Van Lathan said is that like Drake and a lot of these rappers exist in like mini fiefdoms where like all these dudes are like eating off of them.
Yeah.
So
well, we say Elon Musk.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, like all these people are eating off of him, so they're not going to tell him, like they're not going to tell the emperor, like, hey, like, you know, you're not wearing any pants.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's a kid here.
Right? So right, because they're sitting in exactly right. So they're sitting in the studio, like, of course, dude, like you can't be a pedophile, bro. Like, you're too famous to be a pedophile. It's like, what, bro? Like if there's anything that we've learned over the last like 50 years, right? I'll say 10 specifically.
I would
like,
say even 5.
even 5, right?
Yeah.
Is that you were damn well sure not too famous to be a pedophile. Like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? If anything, you being more famous, like you said already, like makes it easier for you to get away with it. So,
But again, I mean, I'm not gonna say that Drake isn't or is a pedophile, but I'm just gonna say,
of course,
like, let's say for benefit of the doubt that he just has this like thing where he's texting and there's smoke around, but like he's not whatever. I think in his mind, yeah, like, but for somebody who doesn't engage with the Harvey Weinstein thing, who doesn't understand, like, it's like whatever. So from your thing, it sounds like you feel like Kendrick won. Who do you feel won this battle, and who lost?
Well, I feel like in like the discourse that I see is all that Kendrick won, so I think that's like kind of what matters ultimately. Like if that's what people are largely saying, then it feels like you did win. I mean, it is funny like that Kendrick keeps getting compared to Taylor Swift because he did release like a Tortured Poets level amount of songs about Drake.
Yeah.
Like he almost has a full Drake diss album.
It was like an EP. So like
that's kind of like the strategy now.
Yeah.
Like,
the rumor was like a couple things. The first thing is that the rumors, like when Kendrick drops like that, like I was always hearing on the street that Kendrick had other songs in the tuck, which became clearly evident by the fact that he was able to drop 4 of them in a week.
Yeah.
Right. Second, running a rap beef is about like public perception.
Yeah.
It's even more so than the lyrics in some ways, right? It is about like the discourse, like it is about like, you know, how people are talking about it, even going back to like the earliest days of it. Like, you know, it is about like, you know, how people like see you. It's about changing public perception. You know, with like, you know, with Drake going against like Meek Mill and back to back, like he kind of clowned him. He's like, because that was when Meek Mill was dating Nicki Minaj.
And her
He's like, is that a world tour or your girls tour, right?
Yeah.
That changed the way that we looked at Meek Mill, because at the time Meek Mill was like kind of rising to be one of the top artists in the game, right? Yeah. And with like Family Matters dropping, Family Matters had that like Family Matters I think is a great, that's my favorite song of all the disses.
Interesting. And I thought that the video was like, fuck, this is a low blow. Kendrick mentioned a Chinese restaurant. Drake and all his friends bought out the Chinese restaurant. The owners came out.
Yeah, with like, wearing all the chains.
Wearing all the chains.
And Kendrick really, and this goes to that sea change, right? Like Kendrick really changed how people perceived Drake as an artist. Like we've always been shutting off our brains. Call back, right?
Yeah.
We've always been like shutting off our brains in some ways to listen to Drake and to engage with his music. But Kendrick like put that to the forefront, right? And also, like, when a diss track is a club track, like, we got Back to Back as a club track.
That was fun.
Fuck with Dre Day is a club track. Hit 'Em Up, that's Tupac against Biggie Smalls. So, like, it's a club track. When a diss track is a club track, it allows it to stick more. And Not Like Us is a club track, right?
Yeah,
therefore, in today's day and age, club tracks become memes because that's how music travels. Now it travels as memes. So now you want to see everybody do the crip walk to, like, one rapper calling another rapper a pedophile.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, in my live, it's something I was saying, like when you're putting stuff on the record. In my live, I was like, this is weird.
Yeah.
Like, it took me 2 or 3 listens to like enjoy Not Like Us. At first I wasn't that into it, but I'm like, yo, like, and then it's because it's a catchy song. A catchy song is a catchy song.
Yeah.
Like OVO, like, but it's like, it's still weird. Like certified lover boy, certified pedophile. Like, it's like, that's like look how far we've fallen.
Well, and I guess this goes to my last question about phase 3 is just that, like, to me, I'm like, do any of these men care about women? Like,
oh no,
they're both hurling insults that they they're both hurling insults at each other, but they both have a decorated background supporting abusers. Drake was supporting Tory Lanez within the last year, right? He has this smoke about him with the underage girls, which, you know, is alleged. And as you pointed out, Jacques, is that Kendrick has released a song with rapper Kodak Black. He released it in 2022. Kodak Black in 2021, not even a year after he released the song in 2022. In 2021, Kodak Black got charged with raping a teenage girl and accepted a plea deal and pleaded guilty to first-degree assault. So that's Kendrick Lamar doing that. And Kendrick still has not publicly acknowledged Drake's allegations of domestic violence.
Nope.
There's no denial. There's no nothing. I think if you're saying, like, if you're being unbiased, it's like, well, at least Drake denied that he's a pedophile.
Yeah, word.
Kendrick's not even acknowledging that, you know? So it's like, come on, you know? And Kendrick's only response is like, I knew you were going to go there. That's why I went deep too. It's like, so you do it, your wife or your girlfriend or whatever. So it's like, these guys don't care. Like, and then they're making, again, people dance to the, it's like, you guys don't, I don't know.
The thing is, like, with hip-hop beef, like, women have always been collateral damage.
Mm-hmm.
Like, a shame, even with, like, Tupac and Biggie Smalls, like, the opening line of, like, Hit 'Em Up, it's like, that's why I fucked your girl.
Yeah.
Like, you know, this is when Tupac had done a song with Faith Evans.
Mm-hmm.
And he was saying, like, oh, like, I had sex with Faith Evans, and Faith Evans was Biggie Smalls' girl at the time. Or even, like, Jay-Z
Even
saying
though
that
he probably cheated on her with the whole fucking world.
Oh, yeah, and was abusive.
And beat the shit out of her,
He beat the shit out of her, and Lil' Kim. Like, you know what I mean? Like, Biggie was an abusive man, right?
Yeah.
Like, you know, or it's funny because, like, Drake was the first person to mention family. He's, like, on push-ups, he's like, I be with them bodyguards like Whitney, mentioning Whitney Alford, Kendrick Lamar's, the mother of Kendrick Lamar's children, right? Like, so it's like women have always been, like, collateral damage and, like, rap beef. It's, like, actually, like, really abhorrent. It's, like, really sad. And it's funny because, like, Kendrick, when he the way he copped to, like, having Kodak Black on his record was kind of like, because Mr. Morel and the Big Steppers was all about, like, coming clean, you know what I mean? It's almost like his, like, his Scientology, I'm going clear, right?
Yeah.
Like, bullshit. You know, and, like, even, like, his song Savior, like, I am not your savior, like, kind of like that was almost like to rebuke the no-name criticism of, like, how come you don't speak out about, like, black issues and stuff like that, and him just trying to be like, don't look to, like, celebrities to be like, which is like a cop-out. It's a cop-out,
exactly.
right? And, like, having Kodak Black as a way
again, Kendrick is another one. People talk about his lyrics. Sorry, I cut you off. But,
that's
like,
fine.
He doesn't read.
That's the other thing too. It's like,
he doesn't read.
In some ways, like, Kendrick Lamar means a lot to the black community, right? All Right was an anthem. Is an anthem for a protest. We gonna be all right, like 100%, right? But there is, like, a commodification. Like, Kendrick Lamar came out with these, like, these sneakers that had, like, Bloods and Crips on them for Nike.
Stupid, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, Kendrick, when's the last time we saw Kendrick Lamar at a protest? Has he said anything about Palestine and Gaza? No. At least Drake signed a ceasefire. Drake signed a ceasefire thing, right? Like, and Drake is one of the most famous Jewish people on the planet.
Yeah.
I didn't even think about that.
You could really say he is the most famous Jewish person on the planet. Like, you could really make that argument. And Drake signed a ceasefire early in the. So it's like Kendrick Lamar hasn't said anything about that.
Kendrick does not say. That's the thing, too.
That's the thing.
Like, he's won the Pulitzer. He says all these things about the black experience, but he does not ever speak publicly about any issue. So, you know what I mean? I'm trying to think, like, did he ever say, like, Black Lives Matter? Has he ever said, like...
I mean, he has. I mean, he did. Like, it's more of, like...
He's not at the protest. He's not, like, really, you know?
I mean, he shows up, but it's not necessarily... Basically, it's like, when you don't say anything, you allow the audience to be able to paint you with a broad brush.
Yeah.
And, like... Something Kendrick Lamar does mean a lot to the black community, and also because of, like, Drake being, like, Canadian and America's just, like, inherent like disdain for Canadians, right? And, like, you know, people, like, not understanding Toronto and how, like, Toronto has many different cultures in one, so it makes sense for Drake to, like, be involved with, like, Caribbean culture, British culture, Latin culture, Indian culture. Like, it makes sense for him to do that, but Americans look at that like, yo, you're dancing around all these different things. You're a culture vulture. You know what I mean? Like, so it's like that opened Drake up for that line of criticism, and, like, it's like Americans like to have everything in like a nice, concise box.
Yeah.
So there's like all of these different things, and I also feel like, and something else Van said, that's like Drake does not have, like Drake probably has low black cultural IQ, that in like kind of criticizing Kendrick for these things would not realize that a lot of black people would be like, yo, that's our man, so what are you talking about?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
When he says you make music that sounds like
try to get the slaves
free the
free.
slave, was like, but again, it's the fiefdom.
But it was look, people. Yes, that was probably the last thing Drake should have said. But like Drake is a black American. His father's African American. He comes from slaves.
There was a whole discourse on the internet about Drake not really being black and all this stuff, and it's like, okay, well. One last thing before we move on to Grassel, because this has been a very rich thing.
This is like,
No, I mean, this is what we knew.
This is what we do here.
This is what we do, but also we've been teasing it. Again, people are going to walk away from this episode knowing everything.
Yeah.
But just to talk about, now we're going to talk about the internet a little bit before we move on to the last segment of the podcast. And in a post that I really loved, you talked recently in which you broke down the way that, like, how the internet works now in 2024 has affected the thinking and polarization of fandoms in a way that has never existed before. In that post, your caption says, "The internet has made the Kendrick Drake beef fun, but also pretty weird. The conspiracy theories, dueling fandoms, and ire on both sides is sad to see, but an indicator of our times. It's low-key and high-key a little sad. Also, at the end of this video, I'm going to make a longer video on the whole thing, but I'm really feeling like unless something changes, I'm going to leave this for a few." So you were tired.
Yeah.
Or whatever, but I'm also just like, yeah, how do you feel like everyone talks about objectivity like not existing anymore, and like how we all like consume things that confirm biases in terms of like Republican and Democrat and all this stuff, but like I thought it was so interesting that you brought that up in like this rap beef. And how do you feel? So I'm just like wanted to talk a little bit more about that.
I believe it with my whole heart, because like there are Drake fans that think Drake didn't lose the beef. There are Kendrick Lamar fans that think that Drake is like that he's like Drake Epstein, like that we're on the verge of like seeing Drake being outed for, you know, like sex trafficking, right? Like it's like, and these fans like are able to retreat to their sides of the internet, and they're only going to be fed content that's going to affirm their biases. So I'm going to have, and because like when you engage with content now, you engage with content like you're constantly snacking on things, especially with TikTok. You're snacking on content. That's essentially what TikTok is. You're snacking on content. So like you're seeing like 5 videos that tell you that Drake won the beef, and then you see me that's like kind of giving you both sides to it. You're just like, you're biased, but you didn't see the previous 4 or 5 videos of when I kind of gave them equal smoke on either sides, right?
Yeah.
Well, it sounds like rap beef in particular, because it's based on conversation. It is very popular vote. That is how generally you know it is popular vote. It's
and Drake is not winning the electoral college
and it's not electoral college, it's popular vote. But what's happening is that the internet is so segmented that people do not want to certify the election. So and they're denying the results, even though the popular vote, because as you say, concrete thing, hello, Not Like Us, #1 song in the country.
Boom.
Right now.
And it's exactly right. It's almost like, you know, it's like it's like November 9th, 2020, and like Trump is still saying the election's stolen, but it's like Arizona just went for Joe Biden. Like, you know what I mean?
He's in
like,
the White House.
He's
like, well, and they didn't want to give him the shit.
They didn't want to give him the shit. So it's like kind of like, yo, like, you know, Not Like Us is the #1 song in the country. Like if that doesn't tell you everything you need to know, like I don't know, I can't convince you that this is the thing, right?
And that's what's happening with Fox News right now.
Wow, that's what I will say is that how I measure public perception who won the beef is that at my UCB show last week, one of the people on my character team had a punchline that was like this character saying that Drake won, and it was like the joke was for this character who doesn't know anything to say that Drake won, and it got a really big response from the UCB audience. So I was like, clearly the public perception is that Kendrick won
in the whitest corners of white culture.
I was like, if like an alt comedy theater audience is like, yes, because this is funny because as we all know, Kendrick won the beef. I'm like,
Man.
that speaks volumes.
If it speaks to that, my mom was asking me about it, and my mom knew that Kendrick Lamar won. You know what I mean? Like,
well, I just gotta say sorry. Like, Tom Hanks asked Chet Hanks to explain the beef, and then Chet shared the screenshots.
what accent did he do it in?
Well, he wrote it, but it was a lot of AAVE.
Yeah.
But even Tom Hanks was like, "Wow, Kendrick won."
Wow.
Yeah. Like,
and if Tom Hanks comes out in favor of you, I mean,
so that's what and even like. I'm sure even like Drake understands that he lost the beef, right? Like it's.
And I feel like, how can Drake come back by this? I feel like if he gets in a PR relationship with Millie,
Bobby Brown. Sorry, you have to specify what
that
Millie.
is hilarious.
Millie
That
Drake,
is hilarious.
give me $1 million. No one will talk about how you lost. You will be with a 34-year-old fat girlfriend. The internet will shift. God. You will. Nothing will make you look better at this moment.
You saying that reminds me of. I used to listen to a lot of Desus and Mero.
Yes.
And they had the problematic light, and like you deserve the problematic light for that one.
I'm just saying, a PR relationship would be equally beneficial. He would give me money.
Good.
And open invitation to come on the pod.
Open
Drake,
invitation
Aubrey?
to come on the pod. He likes BBL women. Let's put money where your mouth is. He says he likes fat women. Let's go.
Here's what I'll say, okay? Like, and we can take this to the bank, okay? Drake makes good music.
He does.
He makes good music.
I like
and
it.
I am telling you, Drake could totally have another top 10 single before the end of this year.
I believe
and
it.
the whole collective consciousness will still understand that, like, all of these things that we learned about him, but we will still go up to it like it was, like, yesterday.
I mean, Trump is a terrible person, but his tweets are fire. The tweets are funny. Some of the tweets are funny.
The tweets are funny.
What he said about Elon Musk on Truth Social, fire.
The tweets are funny.
Okay, we have to get to grass.
Okay, we have to get to our final
we
segment. Speaking of
we have to end
problematic women,
yes.
This is our final segment of every episode. It is called Grasshole of the Week. It is where we declare someone who needs to log off the most.
After Drake.
Drake. Drake will get a loving you need to log off.
When he was on that Bobby Altahoff, what's it, Alta Antahoff podcast? That's how I knew he's so online.
Oh, God.
Yeah, he...
that, like, boring girl?
Yeah.
He would fucking knock her out of the park.
Yeah, well, listen, that's a discourse for a different day. That's a discourse,
yeah.
Today's grasshole, this week's grasshole, is a woman from TikTok, very low vibration. I will say this is a very low vibrational page.
Okay.
Yes.
She is known as @FiredMom. So this week's grasshole comes from the world of a parental estrangement TikTok.
Yeah, that's a whole fucking thing. That's a whole thing.
So Fired Mom. Her name is Dawn. She is a Gen X lady. I was originally going to put her as a boomer, but in one of the videos I watched of her, she had just bought a shirt that said Generation X raised on hose, water, and neglect. Don't know what that means, but she identifies as Gen
like
X.
drinking water out of a hose.
Well, it's hose spelled HOES. So like
hose
interesting.
like hose.
So I don't really understand how. Speaking of rap beef, I don't understand how hose kind of play into this, but it is on the shirt.
But Gen X is weird. We know.
So Dawn is an estranged parent influencer, and what this means is that her kids have all stopped speaking to her.
Oh.
Yes.
And she wants to create, according to her, a safe space on her page for other parents whose kids don't talk to them.
That's a thing.
To find support. So a lot of her videos are like long and boring. But here are just like some titles of videos. So this one is from May 5th. It's called Boundaries Equal It's My Way or the Highway. And it's her talking about how like her daughter-in-law tried to put in boundaries, but that's actually her like exerting control over her. Other video titles include Is Estrangement Part of Cancel Culture? It's time to see your toxic parents in a different light. Mother's Day message for villainized mothers. Why boy moms are at a disadvantage building relationships with their daughter-in-laws.
Wow.
So this is the vibe of Dawn's page. Initial reactions to Dawn.
The calls coming from inside the house.
Well,
very much so.
It's very apparent.
Yeah.
That's what's going on.
Yeah.
Well, two things, right? One is like these titles sound like if the evil stepmother from Snow White had a TikTok.
Absolutely.
And two, just to tie it back to hip hop, it's that meme that says like, 50 Cent got shot 9 times, and every day proves why he got shot. And it's because he's a dick.
He's a dick.
And he pisses people off, and it's the same thing as this woman.
And also an abuser.
And then also an abuser. But listen, this woman, I'm like, you're surprised that your kids don't talk to you?
She tried to instill boundaries, my way or the highway. It's funny because, like, that sounds like something a parent would do.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, it's so, like, the gulf between how she thinks what she wants to communicate and what she's actually communicating is so wide. And again, like, I was gonna try to play some of these videos, but they're so long and it takes her forever to, like, get to the point. So just from the video titles alone, you're getting the vibe. But the reason that she's this week's grasshole, so she doesn't have an enormous following. She's only got like 26.8 thousand followers on TikTok, which is really
26.8 thousand.
Yeah, so it's not like, I mean, she doesn't have no following, but it's not like, we talk about people on here who have like millions or 800,000. She's not there, but some of her videos will get major views because of her content.
It's rage bait too.
So
True.
She's recently been going super viral on TikTok for her Why I'm Estranged video, which is currently at 2.8 million views.
Oh my God.
Where she tells the story of why
woman?
she is estranged.
White woman?
Yes.
Come on.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Yeah, true.
White woman always wearing a baseball cap.
Come on.
A white woman always wearing a baseball cap. I would say, like, not the full Karen haircut, but like a Karen Lob type haircut where she's got like the PC short kind of bob situation.
Okay.
And then glasses. So, okay, basically the way her story goes is that she says that she suffered from a concussion and that this concussion made her erratic and dramatic, and that her behavior was uncontrollable by her and horrible. She doesn't go into detail on what this behavior is. She says that she has apologized, but I will say that if you watch the video, it's not giving remorseful. She also says that prior to the concussion, she had been working with her therapist for years to improve her relationship with her children. So, like, she says that, like, she tries to pin everything on this concussion that she had and that she was acting bad because of the concussion, but then she's also like, but actually I was working with my therapist for years ahead of time.
Mm-hmm.
Also, she has 3 kids. 2 of them were already no contact estranged from her.
Okay.
So then she says that basically when her daughter-in-law was pregnant, that the daughter-in-law, who she refers to as a flying monkey, which is like a term that's used in like therapy speak for like if you're trying to like get a narcissist out of your life, their flying monkeys are like people who will do their bidding on behalf of the narcissist. So let's say you're like trying to cut someone out, but they have like a friend who will be like, hey, you know, so-and-so really wants to get in touch with you. So that's how she refers to her daughter-in-law, which is interesting because it kind of implies that she thinks her son is a narcissist.
Terrible.
But also, I think that she is using the phrase wrong, and she thinks her daughter-in-law is the narcissist. But basically, she says the daughter-in-law put her foot down while pregnant because she couldn't handle the emotion, like this woman's level of emotionality, and that it was actually like harming her physically and stressing her out so much during her pregnancy. It was like causing her like physical issues. And so she's always using this phrase like put her foot down. And she basically says that it was at this point during her pregnancy, after some kind of altercation with her, that the daughter-in-law put her foot down, and then her son came to her and was like, I feel that you're emotionally abusive, to which she responded, no, I was emotionally neglectful.
Huh.
Okay.
Correction, not abusive, just neglectful. And it's like, okay.
What is like tomato, you know?
Yeah, really. So this video has been viewed 2.8 million times. Not received well. People noted that she like kind of seems to hate her daughter-in-law.
Yeah.
Again, calling her a flying monkey is not good.
It's her daughter-in-law too. So this is like her son's wife. That's That's so sad.
Yeah, and basically like if you look up Fired Mom on TikTok, you'll see there are tons and tons of stitches. So since Why I'm Estranged, she's posted another 24 videos.
Jesus Christ.
One of them is just screenshots of texts between her and her estranged daughter-in-law, most of which are like them interacting nicely. But then the final slide reads, the final 2 messages were left unread. I had been blocked due to sending those messages while severely manic and bordering on psychosis. I apologized multiple times. None of the apology messages are included in this thing. I apologized multiple times without justifying what happened. It didn't matter. The final message was sent days before they first went no contact because of something I said while holding their son for the first time. Heartbreak emoji. So then it's like, well, what did you say?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
So she follows up in another video and says that what she said was, I guess she met this baby and just immediately turned to the wife and said, does it piss you off that the baby looks so much like her dad? Which isn't like that bad of a thing.
Aren't babies supposed to look like the father? Isn't that the whole
as far as like comments
thing?
go, it seems like not that big of a comment.
But also like she's a crazy bitch. Like
okay,
don't say shit.
Yeah.
So basically, like, according to her, immediately after this comment, her son basically called her and was like, look, you're always coming at my wife. Like, we're going to take a break. So obviously this comment was part of a larger string of just kind of her always saying stuff. And also in this video, she says this line, I have boys, so I don't really understand the sensitivity of females.
Oh my God.
Which just is immediate. It's one of those things where you're immediately like, and that's one of the big issues with you. All of her videos are like, she thinks she's making her case, but it's little tells like that where you're like, oh, you're not it.
I think that starting with that she had a concussion and was a bitch, like, there's just nothing, I don't feel any sympathy for her, like, but it's also like you're saying, go touch grass, get off the fucking internet.
Yeah, so where this all ends is, so there's a Reddit called Estranged to Empowered, and someone has posted in this Reddit claiming to be the daughter-in-law. It's unclear if it actually is. A lot of these posts have been deleted. But the posts in which are purported to be from the daughter-in-law, she says things like, she didn't just drive by our home. One day she followed me in her car. She literally went down side streets in order to get behind me and follow me. She tracked our home sale on Zillow, and when we moved, monitored it and made TikToks about it. She probably has a Google alert on us and will be forever looking over our shoulder no matter how far we move away. It's a scary situation. She leaves out a lot. I've made comments about other hurtful things she's done to me before, and she even said, did it piss you off that everyone says he looks like his dad? That didn't even piss me off. Hurt, yeah, a bit, but it wasn't the end of the world. What made us take a break was the fact that after she said that, she wouldn't leave us alone when we wanted space and was leaving us angry voicemails saying I was overly sensitive and her son had anger issues. We just wanted a week or two to chill out, and we weren't even allowed that. It's her world. We're all just living in it. So basically it's her being like, it wasn't even that comment. It's that when we were like, hey, we want to take a break because you're kind of always coming at us and like we're in a vulnerable state, she kept on going. And now she is basically building an entire platform and brand off of being
a fired mom.
Yeah, a fired mom and estranged from her kids. And like, she's going to be able to monetize this TikTok soon. And
you see, this is another callback, right? TikTok allows things to go viral, right? To a wider audience than it would normally be. Like in the early internet, or maybe even 2010s internet, 2000s internet, she would have a blog and it would go to other estranged parents and they would communicate with each other. It'd be a small group.
It'd be private.
It'd be more or less private, right? Like it wouldn't be everybody else kind of engaging with it. But because TikTok's about giving you like rage and insightful, like incenseful stuff, right? It allows it to go crazy viral to a whole amount of people, right? It gets super big, and she hit the viral lottery now. But it's essentially everybody just hate commenting on her, like tearing her down, and everybody just dunking it, everybody stitching it, and then with their own opinions.
Yeah, she doesn't care. She doesn't even care from people that she loves. Like, you think she's gonna give a shit? I think
it's crazy.
Strategically, maybe she should enter a PR relationship with Drake.
Oh my gosh, Drake and Dawn.
Drake and Dawn.
No, but Sandy wouldn't like that because Drake has a really good close relationship with his mother, Sandy.
Yeah, actually, he's very close to his mom. Yeah, no,
I don't think that he would like.
Yeah.
Let's go back to Drake getting in a PR relationship
with Millie Bobby Brown.
Please pay. No, with me. I need debt paid, guys. I feel like he pays me $1 million. I'll go to like Carbone with him.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the thing is like, I don't think it's that bad if someone wanted to carve out a space on the internet for people who are estranged from their kids to talk about it. That's totally different. But once you watch her TikToks and her page, it is very clear that she is trying to get people on her side.
Yeah.
And that also this TikTok is kind of another phase of her harassing her estranged children and daughter-in-law, because obviously, like, there are people who, like, I don't know her. I'm not going to go find her daughter-in-law. But there are people in the world who do know her and be like, oh my gosh, this is about Carrie. And this is about them. And then we'll think, etc. about them. Like, it's a facet of her harassing her estranged children.
TikTok allows anybody to go viral. It's almost like if you went to an AA meeting and all of a sudden, like, that AA meeting just went crazy viral and everyone knew all the stories you were sharing.
Yeah.
Right? Like, because, like I said before, it would just be like a small community of estranged parents coping with each other.
Yeah.
And they'd be sharing that stuff, like, you're sharing on the internet, and this is my blog, whatever. Maybe a couple hundred people would know about it now. But now we got millions of people that know about this, which allows, it's like, it's not saying that she should not be allowed to share her side of this trauma with her own kids, right?
Yeah.
But it's one thing if she's sharing it with a small community that's also going through the same thing, and the other thing when she's sharing with the whole internet.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Because then it becomes like harassment, right? Like it
is harassment.
Yes, and so for that reason, Dawn at Fired Mom. Go touch grass. Guys, that's the end of our episode.
Wow.
What an episode it was.
Wow, we
so many
really
layers.
talked a lot.
I know.
Yeah.
Jacques, you were an amazing guest.
Thanks for having me.
We need to have you back on the pod, man.
I would love to come on to talk about anything else.
Super fan.
Special expert guest.
Yes, expert guest. I feel like other shit will happen in hip hop and we'll call you.
It doesn't have to be about hip hop. I'm down to just
Yeah, or just in general, yes. About feminism too.
Yeah,
exactly.
Woo! Bring on a man and talk about feminism. Yes, yeah.
Love it. Jacques, where can people find you?
You can find me at @jmorel_jr on all platforms. And
beautiful.
The underscore isn't written out. It's like actually.
Yeah.
We got it.
Yeah.
We got it. And guys, you can find us at Go Touch Grass Pod on everything. You can find me at Pandelius on Instagram and at Elise Navidad on TikTok.
You can find me at Millie _not spelled out Tamaris on Instagram, on TikTok, and at Millie Tamaris on Twitter. I'm still there. I don't know why.
It's good for monitoring.
It's good for monitoring. I have no regrets. I did anyway. But guys, we have again our Patreon. We have the Tart influencer beef. Elise has been teasing that she's going to cover Snape Wise.
Yeah.
I don't know what that is.
What?
It sounds dark. It sounds demonic. We're going to cover it, but I think
but the teaser is it's from early 2000s Harry Potter fandom. It's a group of women who thought they were spiritually married to Severus Snape.
Well, guys,
and that'll be on the Patreon.
And then, until then, everyone, go touch grass!
That was a HeadGum podcast.
Hi, I'm Caleb Heron, host of the So True podcast, now on HeadGum. Every week, me and my guests get into it, and we get down to what's really going on. I ask them what's so true to them, how they got to where they are in life, a bunch of other questions, and we also may or may not test their general trivia knowledge, whether it's one of my sworn enemies like Brittany Broski or Drew Wallow, or my actual biological mother, Kelly. My guests and I are just after the truth, and if we find it, great, and if not, no worries. So subscribe to So True on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Pocket Casts, or wherever you get your podcasts, and watch video episodes on the So True with Caleb Heron YouTube channel. New episodes drop every Thursday. Love ya.